Hello you guys, and welcome to another episode of A Better You. I am your host, Fernanda 𝘈 𝘉𝘦𝘵𝘵𝘦𝘳. Welcome back to my channel. I'm happy to have you here. In today's episode, we are talking about something that I have been meaning to talk about for so long. This is a topic that I hold very near and dear to my heart. It is something that I have struggled with for quite a while, and we're going to get real vulnerable in today's episode. Now, I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to title this episode, and I had a few different options. As you can read by the title, we are talking about how to deal with perfectionism, letting yourself be human, prioritizing progress over perfection, almost decentering performance, we'll get to that later, and honestly everything to do with the perfectionism that we place on ourselves, the perfectionism that other people place on us, and us having to deal with the consequences of that. When we think of perfectionism, a lot of the times I feel like what comes to mind first is maybe in school, when you're studying. For me, it might be when I'm doing content creation, but another route that I also want to talk about in this episode and kind of touch on is on appearance and the way that you present yourself. Originally, I was only going to make this episode on kind of the external factor, like your appearance, and I was going to title it, Your Beauty Comes From Your Energy, Not From Your Looks, feeling beautiful from within and rejecting the idea of perfectionism. But then I decided to just talk about perfectionism as a whole, since it kind of stretches along so many different facets of at least my life. We want 2025 to be the year that we embody, have that confidence, have that self-assuredness, and not need any external validation, feel fulfillment and validation from within. So anyways, that was a very long-winded introduction, and I don't think that this episode is going to be that short either. So get ready for a yap session and a half, one that I'm coming to you with high energy. You guys, I just had 2 coffees today, and I'm literally recording this at 10:30 p.m., yet I am so wired. I almost wish that I was going to a party after this because I'm feeling so excited. Before we get into the episode, I just wanted to remind you guys, if you enjoy A Better You, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let's get to 600K on there. Make sure to give the podcast a rating on Apple or on Spotify or wherever you listen to this podcast. Make sure to follow the Instagram at abetteryou.byfernanda. Send me a little comment. Let's interact. Other than that, I'm good. I hope you are good. Energy's feeling high. We are in March. What a time to be alive. And let's get into it. So first, I want to talk about my backstory with perfectionism. Now, I kind of want to explain to you guys why this is such a prevalent thing in my mind. I was thinking recently, there's a few things that triggered this. I got out of a relationship. Now it's been like 6 months ago. And in the past 6 months, I feel like I have done so much self-growth, more than I have in so long. I feel like I cannot even recognize myself from 6 months ago. And every day I feel like I'm learning something new about myself and the way that I move and the way that I act. And it's been honestly such a great period of self-discovery and figuring out who I am at 23. And I feel like something that has been a huge thing in my life recently is reflecting on the way that I think and the narrative I have for myself and the belief systems that I have and like who gave those to me. And obviously when leaving a relationship, I feel like you start to reflect on what beliefs were truly yours and what beliefs were influenced by somebody else. One thing that I'm trying to unlearn from my last relationship is perfectionism. So I guess we can start there as to why I even thought this in the first place or why this came up. I just want to say one more time before I get into this, I feel really weird opening up about some things about my personal life and like my past relationship, just because it is quite vulnerable and it is quite honest and it is quite open. But at the same time, I feel like I'm very dedicated to showing up authentically on my platforms and kind of using my real life experiences to extract wisdom from and to extract lessons from in order to kind of open up your perspective as well, whoever's listening. So all of that is to say, when I talk about my previous relationship, just know I'm only trying to extract the lessons that I learned from that and what I have discovered within myself, okay? I'm just putting that out there. One of the things that I feel like me and my ex-boyfriend often got ourselves in a cycle of was constantly trying to self-improve and be better, do better, look better. It was a lot. In the moment, when I was younger, I just took that as second nature. It just kind of became something that was a theme in our relationship. We both put a lot of pressure on ourselves and each other to be the best that we could be. I think that dynamic caused good and bad for myself and him. This kind of seeped into the way that I wanted to present myself, in the way that I looked, in the way that I showed up even in my career, since like he knew me throughout the whole process of even starting social media. I bring this up because my relationship was a dynamic that really fostered the belief that we need to be better and do better and look better and strive for perfection in a way that I feel like led to unhealthy thought patterns. Another dynamic that I feel like fostered this need for perfection in my life was probably my parents. Again, not in a good way or a bad way, but I'm just giving you context. My parents were born and raised in Mexico, and in Mexico, people are very hardworking. I feel like my dad kind of influenced me to strive to be better than I was last year, the year before, just to do better, obviously. On the other hand, my mom, I feel like, has been quite, I'm not going to say hard on me, but has placed the importance of appearance on me from a young age, because in Mexico, that's just how it is. The little girls are always wearing like very nice dresses and have their hair slicked back. Ever since I was little, I was like literally showing up to preschool in dresses. It was just the standard for me to like always like look good and be presentable. And even when I was in middle school and high school, elementary school, I was always doing my hair. I would get my mom to do my hair. I was always wearing earrings. Even in high school, I never showed up a single day to school without styling my hair or straightening it. Like I actually don't think anyone saw like my natural curly hair. And so that was kind of reinforced to like always strive to look the part and look put together and look a certain way. On the other hand, I feel like I kind of have realized that like doing gymnastics and cheerleading growing up and all these like girly sports that have a performance aspect to it are all about looking your best, looking clean, put together, putting on a show for an audience. It's all about performance and looking the part. Both sports require a lot of attention to detail. Cheer is a little bit different story because it's with a team. It's not just an individual sport, but it's still such a performance sport. Literally the whole idea of it is to put on a show, whereas gymnastics is very individual. So you're constantly trying to outbeat yourself in a way or outperform yourself. And it's all about having clean lines and looking graceful and looking effortless while actually working really hard and trying really hard behind the scenes. And the cherry on top as to why perfectionism has been so ingrained in my head is my job. My job is to be online and to create content. And I have learned over the years that the more that you show up online as this curated version of yourself, the more you get rewarded. You constantly have to be kind of branding yourself and niching yourself and positioning yourself in a way that is easily digestible to people watching or easily consumable, you could say. I know that if I look good, if I try hard, my videos will do better, my content will perform better. Then there's the aspect of analytics and you being able to see numbers and your worth sometimes being tied directly to your numbers. And like, you know, you're constantly wanting your content, which is so deeply intertwined with who you are if you are making content that is like authentic and so yourself. It can be a little bit damaging to feel like your worth is tied to those numbers and like literally you can see it in graphs and stuff. And there's the aspect of comparison. I'm getting tired just talking about this. I'm honestly over talking about it already, but my point of this was all to say that all of these different aspects of my life have led me to really putting an importance on performance and perfectionism. I also hope that as I'm saying these things, maybe you are listening to this and you resonate with some of these things. For you, it may be perfectionism in your grades. While you were in school, your parents were very hard on you to like achieve a certain percentage or a letter grade, or you're trying to get into a school, or maybe you are also struggling with the self-image because you're seeing all these people online and the comparison. Maybe it's in your job that you're striving for perfection. Maybe it is in your sport. Maybe it is even as simple as like the aesthetic you're going for, which is kind of a silly way that you can strive for perfection. But I feel like nowadays people are so into like niching themselves into like a subculture and like you want to really nail it. So you want to buy all the things. And it's like you constantly are trying to be someone or do something or look a certain way or be perceived a certain way. Now, I want to say that I don't think that perfectionism is bad all the time. Without having this perfectionist mindset, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have the job that I have, that I worked so hard to have. I wouldn't be someone who cares so much about the little details and about maintaining maybe a brand or a vision or like executing a vision. I probably wouldn't care that much about the way that I present myself, and I'm really proud to present myself the way that I am. And even my literal podcast is about becoming better. So it's all self-improvement. So I say this because I don't want to say that perfectionism is always a bad thing. I think that it can push you to be better, and I think that it can push you to your goals and make you strive to be better in all aspects of your life. But like I said, on the other hand, perfectionism can lead to so many tragic things. It can lead to insecurity. It can lead to comparison. It can be hard for you to just relax and just be and to just even let yourself experience things without much effort. And I feel like a really big, like, I don't know what the word is, but like mind-blowing connection that I feel like I made was that I have almost conditioned myself to believe that effort equals validity in a way. Like if I put a lot of effort into my appearance, then it will be rewarded. Instead of thinking like I am worthy without having to put in all that effort, you know? Or like a different example could be like if you're in school and you're trying to achieve really high grades and you're working so hard and you're putting so much effort in, you might think that your worth is tied to results. So if you work that hard, then it'll be worth it, but you're actually running yourself into the ground in the process, which I don't think is healthy. And I guess at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is that perfectionism can lead to a loss of time, joy, and connection to yourself. All of things we do not want. We do not want to experience burnout. We do not want to feel self-deprecating. We do not want to feel insecure. And I feel like sometimes it can cause you to not feel satisfied or fulfilled since you're constantly reaching for this goalpost that keeps moving, since there's no such thing as perfect. Since we talked about ways that I feel like my perfectionism has stemmed from, I feel like if you are trying to deal with perfectionism, you even clicked on this episode thinking like, I totally resonate with this, I know exactly what she's talking about. I feel like the first step is to recognize what is triggering these thoughts in the first place. I kind of listed to you where all of my triggers could have came from. So those are kind of some examples, honestly, that might apply to yourself, but definitely make a list if you feel like this is something you struggle with, because once you do this, you are able to kind of have it all laid out for you and see what you should do accordingly. For example, for me, this might have been telling my past relationship or my parents, like, let's not place so much importance on appearance or numbers or analytics because it is not benefiting anyone. It's not benefiting me. And again, though it can push you to work harder or strive to be better, I don't think that it is the healthiest for my mental health. And maybe you can do the same. I feel like for me, especially like I said, now that I've been single and kind of reflecting on my own thought patterns, I've been asking myself whenever perfectionism kind of comes up or I feel the need to look better, do better, work harder, be better, I'm asking myself, who is making me feel this way? Why do I feel the need to even perform or kind of try so hard and not just let myself be or be content with where I am now? It may take a while to confront your own thought patterns or your like emotions or like what makes you feel the way you do. And it might be uncomfortable and it might just feel different, but I do think that it is so key to overcoming this issue is just having that self-awareness and actively kind of clocking yourself when you start to go down that path of perfectionism and just being like, I know where this is coming from. We're not going there yet. We're trying to unlearn this. One of the things that I think can be really helpful when you are trying to unlearn these thought patterns is limiting the time that you spend on social media. I feel like that is a big cause for this issue in the first place. There's so much comparison on there and people are only showing their highlight reels, or people are showing themselves with filters, or they're just highlighting the best version of themselves. And it's so easy to feel like you need to always be doing more or looking better, or I mean, even for me, I feel like sometimes I can see people online and they look so perfect and they have all this work done to themselves. And I'm like, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do this. And it's like, in reality, I only feel the need to do all these things because I'm constantly seeing them. Whereas if I wasn't on my phone, I wouldn't even be thinking about those things in the first place. The other thing that I would say is if you have people in your lives that are putting these expectations on you or pressuring you to show up a certain way and it's actually causing you like harm or it's just not making you feel good, definitely consider the role that they play in your life and if they deserve to have a spot there, at least so close to you that it's actually influencing your mind. If someone is holding you to unrealistic standards, it can be super unhealthy and super triggering and just constantly make you feel like you have a spotlight on you or that you need to do better or be better. And if you do have these people in your life, double check with yourself and see if they still deserve a place there or if it's healthy for you to have them there. I think having some distance from people like this can be really healthy for yourself. And even with a little bit of distance, you can kind of let yourself kind of go back to like homeostasis and be like, is this truly a belief that is mine? Or was it that person that was kind of influencing me to believe this way or think this way? So I'm telling you this right now, don't be afraid to step back or even have a conversation with them or even cut them off. Now I'm going to give you guys some tips when dealing with perfectionism, and I'm going to split it up into two sections. The first one being kind of like work, school, when I talk about like content creation or putting myself online. And then we'll talk about appearance and kind of the external self, physical self, because I feel like that's a huge one. And it's a huge one in, I feel like, Gen Z, where we're constantly influenced by social media and feeling the pressure to look better and all of those things. So first, when we're talking about work, school, job, a tip that has really helped me is to embrace progress over perfection. I know for me, there are times where I don't want to upload something because it doesn't feel perfect. I feel like for me, when I have such a vision, I don't want to upload anything less than that. And there are times where even I don't feel in the mood to film content because I don't feel like I'm in the zone yet. I don't feel like I'm inspired yet. And that actually just causes stagnation stagnation for me. Like I just don't end up getting anything done. And so I have to remind myself, like just sitting down and starting is better than nothing. Once you sit down and you start, you will get the ball rolling, you will get the momentum going, and you will probably naturally want to do more since you've already kind of committed to it. I have to remind myself that if I'm in this job for the long run, I should be prioritizing consistency and being strategic with my energy and not just feeling like every single piece that I put out into the world needs to be this like top-notch little masterpiece, because showing up weekly, daily, whatever that means for you is better than stopping yourself from publishing your work due to the standard that you're setting yourself up for. We are striving for long-term results, and that comes with consistency. Another mindset that I feel like is really healthy to adopt when it comes to work or school or your job is to be welcoming of mistakes. Nobody is perfect. We are all human. Humans make mistakes. It's just a part of it, and that doesn't make you any less for making a mistake. And in fact, it is actually just a natural part of learning and improving. I know that there's a lot of people that don't even like starting new things because they feel like if they start and they're not good at it straight off the bat, then it's like, why even bother? But I honestly find being bad at something really fun because it gives me the opportunity to improve and to grow, and putting in the effort is better than not trying. So I definitely feel like with this one, having some self-compassion is key, not being too hard on yourself. And also this goes for you when you are witnessing other people. Maybe you're training someone in a job, or maybe you're kind of rooting on your friend or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your parents, whoever it may be. If they make a mistake, don't be so hard on themselves. Sometimes I feel like we need a few tries or just time to get better at something. And I think it can be really unhealthy to expect yourself to not make any mistakes throughout the learning process. Maybe it's not even if you're learning, but if this is just something that you're doing or your job or your school, and we cannot expect ourselves to be perfect. On the other hand, I feel like to counteract this, focusing on your strengths or the things that you are naturally good at is going to make you feel so much better. You can do this by recognizing your abilities and feeling proud of what those are. And with that, I want to say also celebrating yourself for little milestones or little accomplishments throughout the way. Sometimes I feel like we can hold off celebrations until we feel like we are worthy of being celebrated. Or for example, I'm going to use like YouTube. I feel like sometimes people may be like, I'm not going to celebrate or call myself a YouTuber or feel like this is legit until I hit 10,000 subscribers, and they're reaching for this number, or maybe it's 100,000 or maybe it's 1 million, when in reality, the whole journey is worth being celebrated. And you might not realize that you're not giving yourself credit for the things that you are doing well, or the things that you do uniquely that someone else might not do. An example that I can think of that might apply to you is if you are in school, you're taking multiple courses, and maybe you're doing really well in 3 of your classes, and on one you're kind of slacking. Instead of beating yourself up over this one class that you're not doing well in, congratulate yourself for the ones that you are doing well, and recognize that those other ones may be your strength. And although there might be one that isn't naturally doing as well as the other ones, you're still trying, you're still putting in effort, and it might just not be your strong suit. And that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you or that you don't deserve to be celebrated. It just might mean that you naturally excel in other areas. And it also doesn't mean that you need to kill yourself into the ground trying to achieve a goal that might not be realistic for where you are at the moment. Another tip that I feel like is really helpful when it comes to work or school or whatever project you may be working on is to remind yourself or actively work on separating your worth from your work. I definitely feel like for myself, this is something that I have had to learn, and I have gotten so much better as time has gone on. But I remember when I was younger and I was first starting my little YouTube career or my social media career, I would be working so hard to get maybe 2 videos up a week. I was working so hard to get these videos up at like 7 a.m. And if I didn't have my video ready, I would like pull an all-nighter to try to get these videos up and make sure that it was up at the perfect time. And I was uploading as many videos as I can. I was almost addicted to every month doing better than the last month. But in reality, I was putting so much pressure on myself to achieve these numbers and hold myself to this standard that nobody else was holding me to. It was something that I had made for myself. And again, it's not always a bad thing. I feel like I did really well in this time, and it did look really good from an outside POV, where on the back end, I was like getting no sleep. I was probably crying so many days. I was so stressed. I was just working so hard. And I remember feeling like if a video didn't do that well, I was like, goddamn, I'm done. I'm canceled. I'm literally irrelevant. Why am I even trying at this point? And it's like, girl, little Fernanda, not every video needs to be this like viral moment. Sometimes things may land and sometimes they don't. And also, if you upload something a little bit later or you take an extra day, it is not the end of the world. And it has nothing to do with who you are as a person. These numbers, the money that you're making, the views that you're getting, it does not say anything about who you are or what you're capable of. So I have definitely learned to detach myself from the work that I do and just kind of push my content out and put as much effort in as I can, do the best that I can for myself, but just kind of send it off into the abyss and let it do its thing. For someone else that's watching this video that is in school or working, I guess the reminder here is to know that you are more than the grades that you have and you are more than the projects that you are doing. If you do a test and you get a bad score, it does not take away from your intelligence or who you are or your worth. This could also be if you're doing a project, if it doesn't do the best that you thought it was going to do, or you didn't get the results you wanted, it has nothing to do with your worth. You are not these things. Your value exists beyond your achievements and they do not define you. Another thing that I wanted to say about I guess a creative job like mine is that perfectionism can sometimes lead to killing your creativity because creativity is so authentic to yourself, and sometimes you may have ideas that aren't going to necessarily do as good as like a mainstream idea. And I feel like I have definitely gone through phases where I will sacrifice my own creative idea that I know is unique, that is like different than something I've seen online, to doing something that I know will perform well. And so I end up doing something a little bit more basic or predictable or safe, you could say, because I know it's going to do better and I care about those numbers. And I have to remind myself that, like, again, I am not my numbers. And if I do care about expressing myself creatively, sometimes I should just let that be the way it is. And if the video doesn't do as well as something else, again, that does not define me. It does not mean that my idea wasn't good enough. Sometimes you're just so niche, it doesn't do that well. And that's so okay. We are allowing ourselves to make mistakes, to be in flow. And the world doesn't need more perfectionist, bland content. It needs something messy, something raw, something unfiltered. A tip that I saw online also was to embrace B+ energy. And take this as advice as you will, because I'm sure some people won't want to adopt that mindset. But I guess the mindset is just that although in school you might be striving for an A+ or you might be striving to do the best, even a B+ is good enough. And sometimes it doesn't need to be perfect. Good enough is what you can do. It is what you can deliver. And that is still good. And I guess I also want to say that I feel like perfectionism a lot of the time comes from the fear of failure. And I just want to leave you guys with the last little note here that it is okay to fail. It is okay to be bad at things. And the sooner that you can detach from feeling like that has something to do with your self-worth, the sooner you will feel free. Free to be yourself, free to express yourself, free to try new things, free to do new things, free to put yourself out there, free to experience life in a way that feels alive and like you really put all your effort out there, even if it's not perfect. I feel like I've covered all the basics there, and I've been talking for quite a while, so I want to talk about perfectionism in appearance, because this is something that I really struggle with. I don't know if you guys would necessarily think that about me, but I definitely feel like I have gone through phases, especially when I was younger, where I would like compare myself to myself in previous years. Like I remember when I was living in my old apartment, this was something that was always running through my head, and I would be like, 3 months ago, I was so much prettier. What was I doing different? Like my eyelashes were longer, my hair was thicker, I looked skinnier, and I was like obsessed with looking at past versions of myself and thinking that I needed to look a certain way, I needed to be a certain way. And if I was going to look a certain way and be a certain way, then I would feel so good about myself. I would feel like I would move through the world better. I feel like my content would look better if I looked better. I feel like, subconsciously, you're probably thinking, I will be more loved, I will have more attention, I will make more friends, I will make more money if I look a certain way. And it was actually just damaging my mental health. And I feel like I have had to do a lot of work to practice on self-love and love myself as I am without doing all those external things, and reminding myself that I'm worthy and I look good and I can still show up as the best version of myself without doing all the external things. I feel like something that has helped me with my own, I guess, perfectionism with appearance and like wanting to look better and do better and like all that kind of stuff is to stop analyzing every little detail of the way that I look, because other people are not analyzing you to that extent. And also, if they are analyzing you to that extent, don't have them in your life. You do not need people that are judgmental like that in your orbit, that make you feel like you need to show up as this perfect version of yourself, or make you feel like you are not worthy or good enough if you don't look a certain way. I feel like limiting the time that you spend on social media comparing yourself to maybe influencers that appear a certain way might make you feel better. Maybe unfollowing accounts that don't make you feel good about yourself or project toxic narratives. That can be really helpful. Another thing that I want to say, because it was what I was going to originally have this episode based off of was that your beauty comes from within. It comes from the energy that you exude and who you are as a person. You know, a beautiful model, 10 out of 10, gorgeous girl with an ugly heart and an ugly mindset who is rude to people and is like self-deprecating is just, it immediately like cancels out however pretty she is. The girl in the corner who is effortless, who is not putting so much effort or attention on her appearance, but is radiating joy, love, and just like a positive aura, that is the girl that is going to stand out. That is the girl who is radiating in a room full of people. And she is effortlessly beautiful no matter what she does because it is the energy that she carries herself with. So I feel like that is the mindset shift that I had to do for myself. And again, reinforcing and really getting it into your brain that it is your energy that is beautiful, your aura that is beautiful, who you are as a person, how you treat people, how you make people feel. That is what's going to determine your beauty, and you don't need to look a certain way to feel worthy. Another thing is that, and this is a little bit more blunt, but I remember a few years ago when I would like send in videos to my friends being like, oh, my skin is bad, my hair is bad, I don't look this good. I might have gotten completely shut down, and it might have been what I needed. I remember one of my friends was like, girl, you need to stop looking at yourself. You need to stop looking in the mirror. There are bigger problems in this earth, and you care about the way your skin looks. And I was like, you know, I didn't want to hear that, but you're right. You're right. There are bigger things to be concerned about. And the way your waist looks, the way your legs look, the way your skin looks, like it is not the most important thing. And maybe you just need to heal your relationship with vanity. Genuinely, that's kind of what my friend said to me. And I was like, goddamn, you're right. Maybe you're right. So I say that to kind of remind you guys that sometimes we are just focused and worried on the wrong things. And if you are consumed by your appearance or consumed by the way that you appear to other people, it might be worth taking a look at yourself and being like, I just need to think about something different. I need to put my energy into things that matter more than the way that I look. And there are bigger things and more important things in this world than being beautiful and being pretty in a way that is like socially acceptable or like the beauty standard. Also, I feel like we talked about this earlier, but embracing your strength, I don't know why I can't say that sentence, but like embracing your strengths, maybe even in your appearance and your beauty, and like focusing on the features that you really love about yourself and honoring those and embracing those, I feel like can be a really helpful tool rather than dwelling on things that you think can be better or things that you think can look better. I also feel like another thing that I have had to learn and kind of remind myself of is that it is okay to be imperfect. And I'm going to be like kind of blunt here, but like there's times where I feel like without makeup, I'm like, oh, I look so ugly. I just look so bad. I just feel so ugly. I don't even want to be seen. And my friends would remind me like, okay, and so what? Like, honestly, who said you had to be pretty at all times? Who said you constantly had to be in like full performance mode, full glam mode, full beauty mode? You're allowed to be quote unquote ugly. You're not actually ugly, okay? But I just mean like you're allowed to not be on. And I feel like that's actually something that I want to emphasize on. Like I said, with the way that I grew up, and especially being in a lot of performance-based activities or even the job that I have, I feel like I constantly need to be on. And whenever I'm not on, I feel like something is wrong. And it's okay to be off. It's okay to not look your best. It's okay to not be perfect. Like no one is holding you to that standard, and you're causing yourself unnecessary stress by believing that you have to look or be a certain way. You don't owe the world prettiness or beauty or perfection. And when we are talking about ourself, like our external selves, our physical selves, perfection isn't even a thing. You're perfect the way you are. There's not one ideal, perfect body type, face, look. Like there is not one perfect version. And in fact, people are most beautiful when they embrace their uniqueness and what makes them them. And again, I feel like this also comes with age. You become more confident in the way that you look and how you present yourself. And I feel like at the age of 23, I'm still working on this. But I know that when I was 19, I cared so much. And you know, people maybe wouldn't have even thought that about me, but I remember I was like killing myself to maintain a look that like nobody was asking me to maintain. And it's just sad looking back. So honestly, if you are younger than me, I'm giving you the warning now. There are things more important than the way that you look, and you are already perfect the way that you are, and you do not need to stress yourself out trying to achieve that. And that's what I would tell my younger self. The other thing I would tell my younger self is that the people who are the most confident are those who are okay with themselves, those who embrace who they are, and those who have that I don't care what you think energy. That is confidence. That is attractive. Not the person in the corner who was me at the time, probably adjusting their shirt 50 times and fixing their hair and looking in the mirror and being like, do I look good enough? Like that is not radiating confidence. That is not owning it. That is not rocking what you got. And it doesn't look better for anyone. And sometimes it can radiate off of you. Like, if I'm constantly insecure about the way that I look, people can probably feel it, and it's not a good look for me. So the sooner that you can like embrace the way that you look and own it, the sooner you can radiate confidence. I feel like for me, a challenge that I could give myself, or this could be a challenge for you if you kind of resonate with everything that I'm talking about, is allowing yourself to show up imperfect every once in a while, or like as a little challenge for yourself. You know, if you're constantly used to wearing makeup every day, which I usually am because I'm on camera or I'm filming, allowing yourself to exist without wearing makeup, you know, wearing no makeup for days on end, or having a no makeup Sunday. Or for me, it could be like, I don't know, filming a video where I don't feel perfect or dressed up or fully done up and posting that. Maybe that can kind of build momentum to letting go of feeling like you need to look a certain way just to show up online. Another example could be like when people come over, a lot of the times I'm constantly apologizing if my apartment isn't clean, and my friend will be like, it's okay, like I don't care, like I literally don't care. And I'm over here being like, but it's not perfect. And I have to remind myself, it's okay, you're human. Everyone has their apartment messy every once in a while. You do not need to over apologize. This is your home. Allowing people to come over unexpectedly, spontaneously, without my apartment being perfect, clean to a T, is like a little bit of exposure therapy. I feel like another exposure therapy form is like, this is a big one that I feel like I've been thinking about recently, but I realized that like doing gymnastics and cheer, I have always worked out with makeup on, because like when you're competing, you're again performing. And the thought of like working out and like sweating and just like looking bad, for some reason in my mind just like does not feel good, because I've never done that growing up. I feel like I've always been in sports that kind of have that performance element to it. And so I remember talking with someone and being like, oh my God, if I was just like running and sweaty and just like I looked like trash, and even a different thing, being in a sauna, being like just like red and sweaty, like I wouldn't even want to be around my friends like that because I just look so bad. Maybe that's a sign, or that's a challenge for myself to do something like that that's a little bit out of my control, would actually be good for me to just like embrace the messiness, to embrace the imperfect. That's definitely exposure therapy for me. Another tip that I saw online, if you're dealing with this type of struggle, is to give yourself a mirror detox, to stop looking at yourself, to stop analyzing yourself, to stop picking for imperfections and hyper-focusing on certain things about yourself, because trust me, nobody is hyper-focused on you the way you are on yourself. And sometimes we just gotta step away from a mirror. Honestly, I have so many mirrors in my apartment. I don't remember the last time I just like didn't look at, and I'm on camera all the time. I don't remember the last time I just didn't look at myself for a while. And maybe that would be an exercise that would be really healing for myself. And finally, I guess the reminder, or the last thing here, is to accept that being perceived is inevitable, and you cannot control how others perceive you. You can only control how you perceive yourself. So working on that self-love and that self-confidence, even if you have to fake it till you make it, or give yourself affirmations, or put sticky notes all around your apartment, as I do, being like, I'm beautiful, I'm a baddie, I'm this, I'm that. If that's what you need to do to get yourself there, then so be it. Your presence is valuable in any space or any room that you walk into, even if you are not quote unquote on. And again, your external appearance does not define you. Who you are as an individual and who you are as a human being, that is what makes you you. That is the most important thing. And that is what people value in you. I know for myself, when I see my friends, there's many times where they have pointed out like a pimple on their face. And so often I like never even noticed it on them. Like genuinely, if they hadn't brought it up, I would not have even seen it or have said anything. And so times like that is when you get reminded to yourself that people don't notice things the way that you notice them on yourself. And also, people don't care. If they love you, they do not care about little things like that. Anyways, you guys, I feel like I'm gonna end the episode here. We have talked for so long about all the different ways that perfectionism can creep into your professional life or your personal life, whether that is through work, school. For me, it could be content creation, and even our appearance and the way that we want to show up in this world. And I hope that after listening to this whole episode, you may be inspired to kill that toxic perfectionist mindset and embrace the flow of life, embrace the messy, embrace the quirks, Embrace the mistakes, the failures. They're all a part of your journey. And I guess the last little reminders I want to leave you with is that 1, you are not a machine. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to make mistakes. You do not have to constantly work yourself into the ground to be worthy. Perfection is also an illusion. It is impossible. It is a standard that no one is able to reach. And you're perfect the way you are. And lastly, be kind to yourself, have some self-compassion, and remind yourself that you are enough just the way that you are, and it is okay to be human. We all struggle with this, even if you don't see it. I bet you your favorite creator struggles with this, your favorite celebrity, your favorite singer, your favorite artist, maybe a teacher that you look up to, someone in your work that you look up to. Everybody struggles with perfectionism to a certain extent, and the sooner we can just allow ourselves to exist and be human, the more that we can have compassion for ourselves and the people around us, and we will all just, honestly, feel a little bit more ease. And I think that's what we need. We do not need extra stress that just doesn't fuel us or make us feel any better. But anyways, I hope that this episode inspired you, made you see things from a different lens, or maybe gave you some inspiration, or maybe some tips on how to cope with this. I love you guys. You're beautiful, perfect, smart, intelligent, wise, worthy, just the way you are. And I will talk to you later. I love you.